Okay, so I'll start with Circus Electrique. Um, okay, so this game is a lot of video games into one.
Hmm.
It's Darkest Dungeon, but you run a circus, and that's so like the general idea is like, hey, it's like a steampunk. Hey, there's the you're a part of circus. You go to town, people start going crazy. Let's figure out what's happening, and you
Hi, I'm
just
Chris
kind
Friedman,
of
Senior
run a
Writer at Zen
circus
Studios for Circus Electrique,
and fight
where I
people in
come
the
to the top things
streets. The
artists
fighting
do
is
with
like
a quick
Darkest
rundown.
Dungeon,
As one does when they own a
as
circus, is fight people in
as
the
one
street.
does. Yeah, so the fighting is like
Circus
Darkest
Electrique
Dungeon.
takes place in an
Um,
alternate Victorian
you're
steampunk
familiar
world,
with like the
where a mysterious event known as the
positional-based
Magnet
stuff and the
has turned a huge
resists
portion
and
of
the
the
debuffs
population
and all
from all
that,
walks of
but it's
life
just not as
into
hard. It's
ruthless
not
killers.
as fun as
Yet
Darkest
somehow, the
Dungeon.
maddening has
I
had
think
no
Darkest
effect
Dungeon
on
is
the
interesting
performers from
because of
Circus Electrique,
how the
and
game
their unique talents
inherently
serve
just
to
tries
provide the
to
only hope
screw
for
you
saving the
over. This game
safest
just kind of
creatures in
takes
the world.
the combat and just says, hey, like, let's just
Using those unique
make
talents
something
effectively, plus deciding which
not as
performers to
interesting on
send out
top
to
of it.
execute them,
But
is
I
the
don't
key to
think the
success in
game
the
is
game. As you prepare for the
bad. I would
scene
say if
battle,
you've
you'll
never
often
played
encounter
Darkest Dungeon,
attacks
you
from
would
those
probably
who have
like this
succumbed to
game.
the
Okay, this
magnet.
game's cool.
Unfortunately,
But
there's
it's
something the
just
press has taken to calling the vicious.
it's
The
too
vicious
samey
tend to
for me
travel
because I've played a
north
lot of
as does
Darkest
your party.
Dungeon and I
But who should
enjoy
the
that
four
game a lot.
selected performers be?
And the
By the
story
end of
doesn't
the
really do
game, you'll
much
have
for me.
18
The
classic
aesthetic
And a
really
lot
doesn't
of
do much for
and a
me.
lot of people who like this
decide
kind
who
of
defeats
game
them.
will have
Jump
like
to the right
nobody's
Yeah.
gonna who
Some
likes
have
this kind of
defined
game is gonna be
skills
like,
for
oh
more complex
man,
tasks than others.
this is brand new.
No,
Each
it's
will have
and like
strong
I
combinations
understand
and
liking
unique
something and
skills,
wanting to make a
but go
game
beyond
like that.
that for a
Like that's how
strongman who, as
things are
they'd say in
made, and
1999,
it's how things
offers
are
you might
iterated
number
on top
one.
of, and
A clown who
like new
specializes
things
in the
come out of
hidden
that.
power
But
of
this is just
laughter,
like it's
and
the
a
same
skate
thing but
artist,
less, you
also
know.
adept at the art of
Yeah, it's
capturing things in
very.
place,
I want to say it's
and
odd.
of
Like I
course
get
a
why they
fire
did it.
thrower.
But yeah,
Buffalo's
it's I
streak
don't know.
with
It
fire.
doesn't feel.
Notice how they're
I'm trying
positioned.
not to be rude, but
Position
it doesn't
is
feel
meticulous
inspired at
consideration in
all.
Circus
If
Electrique,
um,
and we'll let Balthazar
yeah,
Corey
and then
here show you
so
why
then
that
you go
is.
back to the
As you
so you
proceed
go
through
through
the
a
battles you'll
dungeon
hear,
like you would in
Balthazar quite
Darkest
likes it
Dungeon.
when
You
it
go
comes
through a
to
dungeon, you
position
pick things.
and
There's
all the
different
tools and
spots.
skills
You
that can be
get
used here.
resources to bring
You
back
can
to your
only use
base
this
to level
spot to
up your
break your
characters,
attack
level up
during the
different
first
things. Like,
position
oh, you need
or
to retire
position
this
2,
person because
and if he lands it,
they
use
have
his
worked too
dice
hard, so
until
they
you
need to
find it.
go
It'll mean
sleep,
some
like
crippling
in Darkest
damage to one
Dungeon,
opponent.
and
But
you
wouldn't
can
it make
level
more
that up to
sense
make
for him
it
to
go
be able to
faster.
beat
You
the
can
first
hire
one
new people,
multiple
like in
enemies
Darkest
in one
Dungeon,
move?
and
Of
you can
course, this
level
is
up
getting
your
less advanced.
circus, like you
His
can in
boomerang
Darkest
skill can
Dungeon,
do
but it's not
that,
a
but
circus.
he'll have to move back
Yeah,
down
so it's
from
just
the
really,
platform
it's
to use
just
it.
really like,
It will
okay, yeah,
cost
I've
you
done
a
this
couple
before,
turns to move
and
back into
I
your
was at the
position
point where I
directly
was
in
like, okay,
front.
this is
But
this
maybe
is
it's worth
whatever.
it.
But then I got to the
Maybe it's not.
circus
Well, this
management
is
part, and
entirely,
it is
entirely up to you, the
legitimately
player.
a direct lift of
Some
a
character types have
mechanic in
skills that can work really
Pathfinder
effectively
2E. There's this
both within your party
campaign my
and
friends and
against
I
the
went through where
vicious.
we're part of a
Positioning
circus.
is
We
part
made
of
our
your team's
characters
effectiveness
centered
too,
around
after
being a
all.
part of a
And another
circus,
thing to
and
consider is
there
the
is
development of the
a
loop.
mechanic where you choose a person to
It more
be
or
the
less equates to
opener,
the
choose a
character's
person to
morale.
be
If they're
the
feeling
middle
competitive,
act, and
they
choose a person to
tend
be
to
the
land
final
more
act. You
often
do
than the
that
strike
every
party.
day in this. You choose opener, middle act,
See
final
that
act,
electrical
and it's
effect?
all
It
the
intensifies the more
successes
exposed the
you get
character is.
in that
As you
show and
further
how the
explore,
city,
you'll
the
need to
people
trade off
react
through other actions,
to
such as
you
using specific
is all
levels of
determined on
related skills
dice rolls and
or
your
devotion
stats.
enhancing
It's the
items
same
that
exact
get all new
thing
tasty
here. So it's
beverage
like,
in an
okay, they
instant.
lifted another thing from another game.
Otherwise, you're not going to be too happy
Which
with the results.
is like I was saying,
If they get
it's not
too
like
impressed,
it's
they might
horrible to
opt
lift
to move
mechanics
out
from
of the
other
game
games,
and choose to leave the
but
circus altogether. Of course,
just
there's also
do
a
something
circus going
different. Like
on.
Try to
they just
disguise,
Still must go
try to
on after
disguise it
all.
a little
And
bit.
planning a
yeah,
performance
it's
is
the
also very
same
important for
thing.
earning the
It's
resources
very
needed to figure out how
It's
the
I
madness
don't. It's
starts
not a
and
bad
how to stop
game
it.
at all in the slightest. Like it's a competently
Thank you
made
for
game.
joining me
It's
today.
good to
Be on
play.
the
It's
lookout
not
for Circus Electrique
you know
for PC and
bad,
all
but
your
it's just
favorite
like
consoles later this
You
year.
feel like
okay.
you've played these all before is kind of
It's
the
very yes, it's very redundant to me because I play video games to experience things I haven't experienced before. That's why games are so interesting to me as a consumer. I like to play things and I like to experience things or see how designers will twist stuff that I like, and this is just taking things I've already experienced hours of and just say, hey,
Sure.
let's make it ugly and let's make it a part of the circus. Yeah. That's just kind of, yeah, like if you bought it and you played it, you said, hey, I like this, I'd be like, cool, like that's great. That, like, I am 100. I'm 100% understanding of why you would say that. So, because they're not horrible mechanics, they do the exact same thing as these other games and things. So, yeah.
Circus Electric. What are you playing
Yeah.
on Steam?
PC. Maybe it'll get an expansion that adds things that isn't like Darkest Dungeon. I don't know. But yeah,
Just
that's
needs to be fresher, I guess. Okay.
don't know what they could do because it's all inherently the same. Like you can't just add, hey, here's a action RPG now, But yeah,